Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam with commentary by Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakur, Chapter 1. After the first three introductory verses, we now begin the storyline, beginning with the fourth verse. Naimishe nimisha shetra, rishaya shunakya adya, satcham sarvaghaya lokaya sahasra shamam ashtata. At the place called Naimisharanya, place of Vishnu, the sages, headed by Shanak, applied themselves to a sacrifice lasting 1,000 years for attaining to the planets of the Supreme, or in a more specific explanation, Satcham Sarghaya Lokaya, with the purpose of going to the heavens. We find that the sages had gathered at this holy place of Naimisharanya to perform a sacrifice, yajna, that would last sahasra samam ashtata, which would last 1,000 years. Their original intent, though, was to go to the higher planetary systems. In other words, Swarga. Swarga means heaven. Swargaya. We can maybe translate it as the planet of the Supreme Lord, but more specifically, it actually says Swargaya, which means to the Swarga, to the planets, to the heavenly realms. So we understand that in the beginning, these sages, they were karmakandis. We have to understand that in the beginning, there was some understanding of the Vedic principles of executing yajnas for the purpose of elevating oneself up to the heavens. Dharma, artha, kam, moksha. There are different types of yajnas to be performed with different results desired to be attained. So in the beginning, these sages wanted to attain to the heavenly realms. The reason why one wants to go to the heavenly realms is that there's a higher level of enjoyment to be had there. So in the beginning, there was no intent to go to the Supreme, but if we extend then the translation to mean to attain to the planet of the Supreme, it was after they got the proper instruction from Shukadeva Goswami, a pure devotee of the Lord, who had already realized the nature of Brahman and so forth, and took the path of devotion, Krishna Bhakti. So it is through the power of Guru that one actually transcends even what one may be considered pious religious activity. There are many pious people engaged in religious activities with the idea of going to the heavens or something like this. But devotion to the Supreme Lord is something of a different category. And that is what the Srimad Bhagavatam is compiled for, to bring us into the realm of devotion. If we study the Mahabharata, for instance, we will see the emphasis is on Dharma and Artha, Kam, and Moksha. But the emphasis of the Srimad Bhagavatam is pure devotion to the Lord. The first four are considered the Purusha Arthas, the desired goals of mankind. Generally, one living within the material world and trapped into the illusory cycles of birth and death and old age, disease like that. They see nothing beyond this world. And there are some descriptions of the fabulous realms that exist, which we call Swarg or heaven, like that. So people may be pious and engage in pious activities with material motivation. That is often seen. but it is coming in contact with the pure devotee that one's vision changes from spiritual piety to spiritual devotion. Devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Specifically, in this case, when we get deeper into the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is service to Krishna in Vrindavan, following in the moods of the gopis of Braj. So the commentary begins with, I offer my respects to my Guru and to the ocean of mercy, Krishna. I take shelter of Shri Shukadev, the eye of the universe and the master of the world. Om Agyan Timirandasya. My eyes were covered by ignorance. But Sridhar Swami, who wrote the Bhavavarta Dipika, the first commentary on the Bhagavatam, being very, very merciful to me in producing this commentary, is my means of success. Taking shelter of the previous commentary given by Sridhar Swami, I will now give my commentary. This commentary that I am writing, says Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakur, which belongs to the Lord, he says, I'm not taking credit for it. It is for Krishna's pleasure. I have written this, but it is, the title of his commentary is Giving Bliss to the Hearts of the Devotees. Sar Artha Darshini. My desire is to give bliss to the hearts of the devotees. And this has arisen or awakened within my own heart by the mercy of the Acharyas and my own Gurudev. My inspiration to write this is to give bliss to the hearts of the devotees. But the cause of this desire has come through the mercy of the Acharyas and my own Gurudev. Now, facing the listeners, the speaker invokes auspiciousness at the beginning of the recital of the Bhagavatam by uttering the sacred syllable Om. The Bhagavatam begins with the sacred syllable Om, and then further, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. But the utterance of Om is the invocation of auspiciousness. It is always uttered at every auspicious event. When Jagna is to be performed, or Krishna Katha, or Kirtan, Om. It is a salutation to the Lord which invokes auspiciousness. It is stated in ancient times, the word Om was first uttered by Brahma, and the word produces auspiciousness. By Om, the speaker indicates that Bhagavatam is a full expansion of the meaning of Om. If we take that in the beginning of time, it is said that there was sound alone. And that sound was the sacred syllable of Om, from which everything came. Om contains the absolute truth. It is the seed of the absolute truth. And it expands into the Srimad Bhagavatam to give a full explanation of the meaning of that sacred syllable, Om. Brahma created a wheel in his mind. The rim of that wheel was called Nami. The place where the rim, the Nami, fell off, Siryate, is called Naimisha or Naimisha. In other words, this is considered a very sacred place, described in the Vayu Purana. The mental wheel created by Brahma, it says here, created by me, will be released. The place where the rim comes off will be favorable for performing austerities. So this place was actually created by Brahma specifically for performing sacrifice, this Naimisha. Having said this, and having created the wheel, brilliant like the sun, in his mind, and offering his respects to it, Brahma released that great deity, the wheel. The rejoicing brahmanas, offering respects to the Lord of the universe, then journeyed to that place where the rim of the wheel fell off, and that became known as the forest, or Naimisha, and is worshipped by the sages. Various devotees have personal desires to fulfill through various types of bhakti. All the desires of all these persons upon which their minds, free from distraction, have become fixed, can be fulfilled by immersion in the topics of the Bhagavatam. In other words, everything can be had through the experience of hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. All desires can be fulfilled. Prabhupada used to say, man proposes, God disposes. As you desire, God can fulfill that. And the Bhagavatam is an aspect of God himself, or we can say is God himself. And according to one's mental disposition, what one desires at the time of hearing this, or chanting, or doing one's worship, that brings in the desired result. Everything, therefore, depends upon our mental desire, what we want out of hearing the Bhagavatam, what we want through the chanting of the holy name. Therefore, the spiritual master, the guru, as we've come to learn, puts us on the right course, that what is actually of value. Everything else can come and go, but that which is of real value is devotion to the Lord. That will bring us to the highest absolute reality. All the desires of all these persons upon which their minds are fixed can be fulfilled by immersion in the topics of the Bhagavatam. This Bhagavatam has been arranged to bring out this point clearly at the very beginning with the description of the sages of Naimisharanya. The meaning of Naimisha is found in the Varaha Purana. The Lord speaks to the sage, Goramukha. Having done that, the Lord spoke to Goramukha. The powerful demon was killed in the forest, Aranya. Quickly, in a moment, Nimisha. Nimisha can mean like in a moment. Thus this place is called Naimisha Aranya, the forest of Naimisha. It will be very suitable for brahmanas in the future. By using this word with this meaning, it is suggested that one should reside in this place for quickly killing the enemies of the mind, such as material desires. That everything can be had, but also the power of this place is such that it will kill the demons of the mind. That is, that which distracts us from attaining the absolute reality or truth. In the beginning, Shanak and the other sages were attracted to Sakama Karma. They were attracted to the ideas of fulfilling karmic desires. Thus, the verse indicates that they performed sacrifice for the attainment of Swarga. This we were explaining in the beginning. For the attainment of the heavens. That was their original intent. That's why we mentioned they were karma kandis with the desire to attain heaven, Swarg. So this is being pointed out here by Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakur. In the beginning, Shanaka and the other sages were attracted to Sakam Karma, that is fulfilling their desires. And thus the verse indicates they perform sacrifice with the desire for attaining Swarg, the heavens. It is well known, however, that by hearing and contemplating various Puranas and other scriptures from Romaharshana Sutta, they became inquisitive about spiritual life. So by associating with Sutta Goswami, they developed a small taste for bhakti, which was shown through their inquisitiveness. They desire to know then something more. Maybe they came with one purpose, but now, sitting here, the power of the place is there, the power of the Guru is there, and they're thinking to inquire further about the real purpose of this human form of life. That becomes the beginning of the Bhagavatam. The inquiry, atattva brahmajigas. That is the purpose of human life, states the Vedanta Sutra, to inquire about the meaning of existence. Why am I here? What is the purpose? How does this function? All of this is answered in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So they begin to inquire, well, maybe we've begun something, but with the wrong mentality. Let us understand now by our inquiry. And this means here, it shows here, that by association with Sutta Goswami, they had developed a small taste for bhakti, which manifested through their inquisitiveness. They say later in the chapters, you let us, blackened by the smoke of this uncertain sacrifice, drink the intoxicating nectar of the lotus feet of Govinda. This comes up later in the 18th chapter of this first canto. It says, we started this with one purpose in mind. The result was we were blackened by the smoke of an uncertain sacrifice, what was really to be obtained. But by your association, we began to drink the intoxicating nectar of the lotus feet of Govinda. That is the mercy of Guru. That we begin to understand the real purpose of human life. Not simply piety or religious piety, but that the real purpose of the human life is to understand the reality of Krishna. Krishna, reality, the beautiful. The lotus feet of Govinda. Govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. We worship Govinda, adi purusha, for he is the original purusha, adi purusham tamaham bhajami. They go on to say, the book goes on to say, when they took up bhakti, their inquisitiveness became weakened and the performance of sacrifice for attaining swarga became false, thus indicating, knowing well that the age of Kali has already begun, another verse from the Bhagavatam, we have assembled here in this holy place to hear at great length the transcendental message of the Lord, and in this way perform the sacrifice of bhakti for the Lord. So, now they say, enough questions. We're now ready to hear the nectar of the pastimes of the Lord. We have gained clarification of vision through your association. We know now the age of Kali has begun. This is a dark age. And generally, devotion to the Lord is hard to find. Of course, we know that it is described that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they're like the rising sun and moon. They have come to shine light on the darkened age of Kali Yuga. And along with their soldiers, we'll say, they're the acharyas coming forward, preaching this message of Krishna consciousness. Light is coming to this darkened world. So knowing well that this age of Kali, this dark age of Kali has begun, now we see the real purpose. We're assembled now to hear at great length that transcendental message of the Lord. And in this way, we will perform sacrifice. The Yuga Dharma. Hear and chant about Krishna. That is the Yuga Dharma. Hearing, chanting, remembering the pastimes of the Lord, the name of the Lord, qualities of the Lord. The power of bhakti is indicated by the cessation of their attachment to prescribed duties which arose in them from hearing the Bhagavatam. The power of bhakti is described, that now they became free from the desires of material accomplishments, or executing the religious rituals of Dharma, Arth, Kama, Moksha. Now they were simply wanting to absorb themselves in hearing the Bhagavatam. The power of bhakti is also indicated by the appearance of Shukadev. O saintly king, I was certainly suited perfectly in transcendence, says Shukadev. Yet I still became attracted by the delineation of the pastimes of the Lord, who is described by enlightened verses. So Shukadev tells Maharaj Parikshit that I also was experienced in transcendence. I was certainly situated perfectly in transcendence, in the concept of oneness, Brahman realization. I had attained that. But I became attracted by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, which increased the sweetness of my own existence, that the highest sweetness is found in hearing and chanting and serving the transcendental Lord Govinda. So, here Shukadev tells Maharaj Parikshit that this is my own realization. I had achieved the highest platform of moksha. I had gone through Dharma, Artha, Kama, moksha. I had achieved moksha. I was completely situated in transcendence. But something was higher than that, and that is called Prem Bhakti. Prem Bhakti is transcendental even to the transcendental situation of moksha. There's another meaning to Swarg. Swarg means glorified, Gyate Gaha. In Swarg, Swargaya, who is praised in Swarg. So if we take the meaning that of the heavens, Swarga, in a different way, then it can mean we have come here to hear and praise the Lord. Swargaya. The Lord who is greatly praised. Rugaya. Swarg Goya, who is praised, indicates the Lord. His lok is Vaikuntha. Therefore, Swargaya Lokaya means for going to Vaikuntha of the Lord. So here's where the meaning changes. From the original, if we just read it as Swarga, to attain the heavens. And we can say that in the beginning, that was their desire. But now the meaning changes. Swargaya. We have come here to glorify the Lord, whose transcendental abode is Vaikuntha. Therefore, Swargaya Lokaya means for going to Vaikuntha of the Lord. Animisa, not blinking, in this verse refers to Vishnu. Because, taking the verse in another way, the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, who never blinks. The sages identify the place, as Kshetra Smin Vaishnave, a place of Vishnu. This holy place is a place of Vishnu. They apply themselves, astata, to perform karma, pious previous actions, satram, which were to last for 1,000 years, samha. But that same sentence can mean they perform asata, such sacrifice which is generally done for going to Swarga. So we have to understand, even in the verse, the intention shows that something changed within their minds. They came with one intention, and then the intention changed by the power of the place. That's why holy places like Vrindavan are considered power places, power, chakras, places where devotion arises naturally. Therefore, we glorify those places because it naturally brings out devotion to Krishna. Even those who are inclined towards material things find that somehow or other their heart is churned and becomes purified. And the desire then is to attain Krishna. That is the power of these most powerful places, such as Vrindavan, where devotion to Krishna is easily had, whether one is born there by some good fortune, or one is drawn there by the mercy of gurus to go there, to experience it. What we see happens is devotion to Krishna becomes natural to us. So this is the power of the holy place. And Naimisharanya is such a holy place. It brought out their devotion to the Lord, and their material desires were dropped off. So the explanation is given here of how the transformation took place within their mind by the power of Sutta Goswami, Shukadeva Goswami, and the holy place like this. Pure devotion is had. Pure devotion, therefore, easily arises by the power of Guru, Vaishnava, Acharyas, and the holy places such as the Dham, and by the mercy of the Supreme Lord himself, especially Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who enlightened us as to the value of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the power of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Bol, Jai Shri Radhe Shyam.